This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, saving your day from boredom with the best podcasting entertainment.
What's up, everybody? Ricky Widmer, along with fellow man-child Johnny Karlic.
Grass tastes bad.
Yeah, for a second I was like, does he have a catchphrase today? Did he think of one today? You had to go with the Rick one because you've got your Rick shirt on as usual.
20% correct as usual.
Welcome into the Rick and Johnny Podcast, your one-stop shop for movies, nerdy, superheroes. We kind of hit everything under the sun here when it comes to kind of entertainment, more so with superhero and comic entertainment. But before we get into our jam-packed show for today, got to do what we always do, got to do the housekeepings for you. Number one, if you love what you do, what we do here, if you love what you do, that's great too. But if you love what we do here at Most Valuable Podcast, make sure to check out patreon.com/Most Valuable Podcast, your way to help support us, help to keep these lights on, and actually turn on the heat. We don't have the heat on right now.
We don't.
It's kind of cold here in Chicago, so you can help us do that. Number two, if you're on iTunes, you have an iTunes, please go to iTunes, give the Rick and Johnny Podcast 5 stars on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. And then if you could do the same for the Onside Kick, the Primetime Podcast, and the Fast Break. And the last thing of housekeeping that we have, actually 2 more things. Number one, we're selling MVP shirts. You want one of those, directions down below in the description. $22 a pop, and that's including shipping for an MVP t-shirt. And then last but not least, if you have not checked out mostvaluablepodcast.com, do so. It is now live because it is now 2018. That went live on New Year's Day this year. But Johnny, we got a jam-packed show. We're talking DC, and then we're doing a little bit of Marvel. So
save the best for last.
Save the best for last. But also, this is our this is a wheelhouse. What better way to start 2018 than to hit our wheelhouse of DC and Marvel?
Exactly.
And what we're going to talk about today is, number one, we're going to look at the DCEU as they have now a new head for the DCEU. Then we're going to look at the Batgirl movie, and could Lindsay Lohan be our first Barbara Gordon? And then we're going to look at Daredevil Season 3 and kind of look at Kingpin, and could he be the only villain for that season of Daredevil coming up probably at the end of 2018. But let's start with DC. We're going to look at the main news first, is that Jeff Johns and John Berg have been replaced as the top of the DCEU. So what Warner Brothers has done is they've appointed It and Conjuring producer Walter Hamada as the new president of productions for DC movies. So what this means is both John Berg and Jeff Johns, they were together at the top. He is replacing both of them. The studio declared to make the change back in December in the aftermath of Justice League's underwhelming box office performance. Johns is still DC's president and chief creative officer, and will be involved with the cinematic franchise as an advisor to Hamada. So I'm going to ask you, Johnny, looking at this. So Hamada comes in. Yeah. He's the new president of productions. John Berg is now left. I believe he now moved to the side of Warner Brothers that deals with like the Lego movies and stuff like that. Johns is still on. He's still the chief creative officer and DC's president. I'm going to ask you, what do you think of this? Can Hamada be the guy to save the DCEU? How many times, I use air quotes because how many times have we said save the DCEU in a podcast?
I mean, it's not like they're doing terrible now. Justice League wasn't that bad.
I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was bad at all. There were things I would tweak.
Yeah, exactly.
There were tweakings.
That's what I meant.
But I think it was a lot better than BVS.
Yes, which, I mean, Walter Hamada, just with us seeing it, I thought it was a great movie. Yeah. And if you have, like, just, since he's producer, he's not like director or anything. You have someone with like the idealisms and that, and I'm not saying like go with a stylism of it. I'm saying just the general quality of it altogether was great. So if you have that general quality of it in the DCEU, and then you have Jeff Johns working with it on saying, hey, no, this is how this character is supposed to be. No, this is how this should go. This is how this should go. Then I think you're going to have a lot better of a movie than Wonder Woman was fantastic. BVS was BVS.
BVS was horrible. I
know. I'm just saying.
I know there's people out there that like it, but in my general, my humble opinion, it was god awful, and I wish it was never made.
I was gonna. Wow. I was just gonna leave it as BVS was BVS because you can take it as you want.
Yeah, and I'm taking it as it should have been never made. But go on. I digress.
Anyways, Justice League. That's the movie I was trying to think of the name of. Was actually not that bad. I actually liked it. So I mean, getting Hamada in there and just there's other movies that are, I mean, hit or miss. I haven't seen a lot of them, but I know it was great.
Well, from the producer side of it, and this is not the directing side, like the movies that he had, like I'm looking at the producer list right now, the movies that he's produced have been movies to where I at least remember seeing trailers for.
Yeah.
And it was never a movie like, man, what was that one? Like Annabelle Creation, like Conjuring 2. You had Annabelle #1, 47 Ronin. You've got The Conjuring #1, Final Destination 5, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. Like these are movies to where I knew what they were, and the Friday the 13th was the 2009 adaptation of that movie. Same with the Nightmare on Elm Street. That was the 2010 one. But as a producer, I'm not worried in the sense I get the move. I totally understand this move.
Yeah.
However, I'm a little worried, but I'm only worried because Hamada hasn't done anything yet. But and I mean done anything when it pertains to DC movies, because this is the first time he's going to be in the DCEU. But when I say I understand this move, originally, like if it was my call, I would lean towards Jeff Johns being the guy at the top, the Kevin Feige. He's the guy that knows comic books. He's the one that knows what these characters should be. However, there was one thing as I was doing like some research for this topic.
Yeah.
One thing that was brought up in an interview or a YouTube movie or video that I was watching, wow, I've kind of sounded really old by saying YouTube movie. No, YouTube video that I was watching was that, yes, Jeff Johns is the guy who knows these characters through and through. They brought him on originally to say, no, this character wouldn't act like this. This is where we should go with this character. However, what I think we saw with Justice League is Jeff Johns might not be a guy who is comfortable giving influence to a director on the level of Zack Snyder, on the level of Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
To where it might have been, and I don't know, I'm not in the room, I'm not in the behind the scenes, but it might be a little intimidating trying to give notes to a Joss Whedon who could easily say, nah, kid, get the hell out of here. Or like, nah, I'm going to go in my direction because I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What this does, bringing in Hamada, is what this does is said, okay, this is going to be a guy that we can bring in, and he could have those conversations because he's dealt with numerous directors as a producer. He could come in and go, yeah, you know what? We're going to go with this direction. Like, more so think of it as he's the muscle. Jeff Johns is, I don't want to put it that way because it's really taking away from Hamada. But in this sense, Hamada's the muscle. Jeff Johns is the behind. Like, Jeff Johns tells Hamada, hey, you know what? I've been looking at this, thinking about this. I don't think the character should act like this. And if it's a situation where Johns couldn't go to the director or they worry about the director kind of pushing it aside, Hamada could be the one to say, yeah, you know what, as president and being the guy who's dealt with directors, he could say, you know what, this is what we're going to do. You can't push me to the side.
You know, another nice thing, though, is not having Jeff Johns at the top right there. And I'm not saying like that as offensive to Jeff Johns or anything.
Jeff Johns, I trust. It's turned from we to I. Because I trust in you, Jeff. I do.
What I have to say is more so it's having someone that's not that super, the comic book sensibility, like not fully comic book. Like I said, Walter Hamada doesn't really have any really comic book ones, at least for producing wise. I didn't look at anything for direct. He doesn't really direct. So, anyways, having him as the producer, him going, well, I'm sorry, Jeff, but can you find a way to make that more translate to a movie? Because not everything from the comic book translates great to movies. Yeah. So like you can have one thing happen in the comic book, and people go, and even you and I have gone to each other. Hey, well, why didn't they do this? Well, because it doesn't translate well into movies. Like there's just many things in comic books that they look great on paper, but they don't look great live action. Yeah, no, it's exactly. And the thing is, it might be, and yet again, not behind the scenes here. Exactly. But this is one thing that I can guess and kind of not assume, but I'll use the word guess, is maybe Jeff Johns is like, hey, I know these characters through and through. Obviously, I've written about these characters. I've written for these characters in comics. I could use that in the writer's room. I can help when it's writing the script and coming in and writing these characters. But once they're on the screen, it's, when they say things, it's like, you know what, I get that part. But getting the perfect translation from comic book to screen, maybe a guy like Hamada can help with that. And the thing that's most important that I think that the reason why I focus on it as the big one is executive producer for that movie. In reality, all of superhero movies is doing exactly what it did. We're taking a medium that comes from books and paper, and we're putting that into a movie medium. Exactly. And that's where I'm going with, like, I think it's a good move to put Hamada at like the executive producer, have Jeff Johns kind of in the wings in a sense. I'm not saying like he's like way off over here. Yeah. Have him there where it's like constant consultation. You want to have him for, hey, how should this character act? Hey, what do you think about this character's design? What do you think about how this character looks? Because he writes the comics. He's also part of, I don't know if he actually draws them or anything. That's probably someone else. But still, Jeff Johns is usually the writer. Yeah, he writes their story. Someone else, but he knows about their story and everything. But excuse me, working that closely in the comics, he should probably at least have an idea of what they look like or what he thinks they should look like. That should play into it. Like Batman doesn't change drastically. No, he doesn't. Unless it's like Batman Beyond, but it's like... But we don't want another Green Lantern movie. No, we don't. And the thing that I think about, and really the parallel is, okay, because it's happened before and because we have something to compare this off of, everyone's going to say, like, when everyone tries to find this position for DC, it's always, can they find their Kevin Feige? Yeah. And the thing I want to bring up, and this is kind of a side thing off to the side of this, and I want to ask you, just came to the top of my mind. Okay. Are we putting Kevin Feige on a pedestal? Like, not saying that the MCU hasn't done a good job and hasn't developed into a very successful movie universe, but are we putting Kevin Feige on a pedestal? Because yes, he's been the producer of, like, since the beginning of the MCU. And it wasn't until, like, what, 2010? So, what, 2-3 years after Iron Man? Yeah. After they said, we're doing this as a universe, they named him the president of this whole thing. But, like, I look back to movies he's done before Iron Man. Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. Spider-Man 3, which you would say not a good superhero I didn't like the trilogy. X-Men The Last Stand, Fantastic Four, Elektra, Blade Trinity, Spider-Man 2, The Punisher, Hulk, X-Men 2, Daredevil, Spider-Man. His first one was in 2000 with X-Men, where all of those movies hits. And I get that it's one of those things where he's not directing it, but it's still your name's on. Like, if we're gonna you let it happen. No, not that. That's you with the Spider-Man stuff. I don't agree. I love the Spider-Man ones. We even had comments to where I know they disagree with you, which they can disagree with all they want. They won't change my mind. However, like, I kind of feel like if we're gonna praise you for the MCU and you're being a producer, I can also do the same when it's like really Elektra, really Spider-Man 3, because that's the only one I didn't like. Really, you let the Dark Phoenix saga happen the way it did. Yeah. I'm just throwing it out there. So, Spider-Man 2, as well.
Part of me, well, I'm not going to throw that. You can throw that.
I can throw that one. I will throw that one. The thing that
I'd look at is bringing it back to DC is everyone looks at, can they find their Kevin Feige? Really, it's, are we putting him on a pedestal? And two, the thing that helped Kevin Feige with the situation with Marvel, A, he was already producing Marvel films.
Yeah.
Number two, he was already producing superhero films. So, I mean...
Well, he has a nice repertoire here of superhero films, starting with X-Men in 2000.
Yeah, but I mean, between that and Iron Man, they're basically pretty much... I think the only one that isn't a superhero is Blade Trinity. Technically isn't superhero. However, that's still Marvel. And then
isn't superhero.
And then Man-Thing. Is Man-Thing considered superhero? I didn't even remember that movie from 2005. Watch it, so I don't. But basically all of his movies have been superhero. So I mean, kind of to go back to the original to wrap it up. Can Walter Hamada save the DCEU?
I think
the simple question, or the simple answer in my mind is yes. However, it's can he use what he's used in the horror side and bring that over to the superhero genre?
I'm hoping he brings that quality over to the superhero one and make the DCEU great again.
Okay, thanks, Trump. But one thing I do want to mention...
you do a better Trump anyway, so...
Make the DCEU great again. I don't know why. That was a terrible Trump. Usually I'm really good. I do the...
Really... Make the DCEU great again.
I gotta work on my Trump. I haven't done it in a while. I do the hands really well.
You do.
But last thing I want to throw out there, and this is about Hamada, is do you think part of the reason they hired Hamada is because DC's kind of always been that one to let's go a little bit on the darker side, and let's be completely honest, horror movies are completely dark.
Maybe. Could be that because they're like, I know they talked about doing a separate, what is it, Batman universe now?
Yeah, the Batman family.
And yeah, the Bat family. I mean, if you're going to do that, maybe that's the type of aesthetic you need to it.
Well, of course,
Wonder Woman. Yeah, well, Wonder Woman won't quite fit with that though. Flash definitely won't fit with that. Superman won't, and especially if we're going to stick with the new route we went with Superman. But I mean, maybe not. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll pull his aesthetic from horror movies from when they go do the Batman, and the rest of it's just like, hey, no, I just think we need to go with this quality of movie and get like an It style movie, which I thought was great movie. Picked a great actor for It for one.
The thing that I want to throw out there here at the end,
okay, and
this is pretty much Wonder Woman because I saw an article on Screen Rant for it. Was basically Patty Jenkins, I think is her name, was the director of Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
She had come out and said that Wonder Woman 2 is going to be drastic. Like, it's going to be a drastic change to Wonder Woman 1.
Yeah.
So, I don't know really. Like, that's just a headline I was reading as I was writing through. But I don't really know how to take that as a headline on its own, whether good or bad. However, Wonder Woman was really good, and I loved it. So, I'm assuming it's going to be just as good. But this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down below. What do you think of Walter Hamada being the new president of the DCEU? What do you expect? There's going to be changes. What do you expect to change with Hamada as the new president and Jeff Johns as the chief creative officer? Let us know what you guys think down below. But Johnny, let's move on into our next time. We're not moving. We're just kind of shifting over.
As I said earlier, slide to the left.
Yeah, and the part that gets cut at the end of every one because we kind of redo the intro, slide to the left. And we're staying in the DCEU, moving over a little bit into Bat Family territory.
Bat Fam.
There was a tweet that was sent out. The exact date was actually yesterday, January 6th, from Queens, New York at 7:41 a.m. So I don't know what she's doing that early in the morning, obviously thinking about this. But here's what I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
Is Lindsay Lohan, yes, you heard me correctly. Lindsay Lohan had basically said she wants to be Batgirl. And here's what I want to ask you, Johnny, is so the tweet said RT, which is retweet if I should star in the new Batgirl movie and everyone tell at Joss. Kissy face emoji, heart emoji. I want to ask you this basic question. Should DC cast Lindsay Lohan as Batgirl.
Well, I believe you brought someone else up to the table
We're gonna bring them later if it's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
the other article that I sent you.
Yeah. Honestly, I haven't seen her in anything major in quite a long time.
She's usually in TV she is
shows
stuck
now.
to TV now because of her sketchy past that has caught up with her acting career, basically.
Yeah, Scary Movie 5 was the last thing I've probably seen her in. Everything else has been TV series.
Mean Girls. The last actual movie she was in was The Canyons in 2013.
Yeah, the last one I saw her in was 2013.
Yeah, well,
with Scary Movie 5.
She was in Machete?
Was she in Machete?
She
was in Machete, you're right. But
I didn't know
2010.
I didn't know she was
Anyways,
in Machete.
back to the actual...
yeah, should she be Batgirl?
Not to be mean, but no. I feel like, honestly, the one person that we brought up earlier, there's many reasons why to go with a younger actress. And do you want me to spoil the name, or are you going to do it?
Go ahead.
Haley Steinfeld is the one that you brought up earlier. And the reason
By the way, Brandon loves Haley Steinfeld.
You told me.
He has said on numerous That's What I Thinks that if she's looking for... There was one where he was talking about she invited I can't remember the kid's name who was bullied to the premiere of Pitch Perfect. And he said, if he declines, I will gladly go with you. Like, that is how much, like, it is on the record that Brandon's in love with Haley Steinfeld.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
It's everyone's PSA for the week.
Oh, there
Brandon
you go.
loves Haley Steinfeld. But I digress. Continue on.
Yeah, the only reason I say that is because if you want to keep the Bat family going for a while, you want someone that's going to, like, at least progress with the age
well.
Plus, she's also around that age anyways. At least what DC seems to be doing with ages with everyone.
Yeah.
She's around Batgirl's age. Am I correct? Or close to?
Well, the thing that from the last thing I heard about the Joss Whedon Batgirl movie is apparently, unless things have changed drastically, his idea for the script is a high school Batgirl, Barbara Gordon who is in. So this is pre-Oracle. This is pre-wheelchair.
Yeah.
This is basically an origin story, I'm assuming,
in
for
a sense,
Batgirl to where she is in high school. It is like the way I had it described to me is think of like high school drama, but a superhero film.
Yeah.
And that's basically where you're looking at Lindsay Lohan, where she's 31 right now, going to turn 32 in July. This movie... this is in like pre-production.
Yes,
so we don't even know if this is going to be 2019, 2020. Let's say it is 2020. It's that far down the line.
Yeah.
That means you're turning 32 in 2018. You'll be 34 by the time this movie comes out.
Exactly. So my thought would be, why don't you go someone that's already right now closer to that girl's age? And I would go with someone at least in the same age range as Haley Steinfeld. It doesn't have to be her specifically, but you brought her up because you said someone had an article out there about her.
Screen Rants does have an article where earlier, like a month ago, we didn't talk about it only because I didn't think it was a hot button issue back then. Like Haley Steinfeld's one of those ones
but
where
it is now.
No. She's big.
I was making a joke.
She's big right now, but it was like, you know what? The Batgirl movie, no one's even thinking about it. But when Lindsay Lohan comes out and says, I want to be Batgirl, I'm sorry. That's a little bit more newsworthy.
Yeah.
In that sense, only because of the name in general. And yes, that name is partly because of her movies plus of her off the screen issues that she has had, and that was put into the limelight. But this article was December 17th when Haley Steinfeld said she'd love to play Batgirl. You're looking at an actress where she's 21. She's going to turn by the end of this year. So she recently turned 21 in early December.
Yes.
She's not going to be 22 until the end of this year. So let's use that same 2020 in retrospect. She could be either 22, 23 when the movie comes out. I'll take someone that's that because they could look more like a high schooler than a mid-30s actor.
Actor, yeah.
Actress, pardon my miss up there. But yeah, that's the big thing that plays into it to where I'm a little torn. I was a little torn coming into this because like I told you, if they casted Lindsay Lohan as Batgirl.
Yeah.
Would I be like screaming from the mountaintops, this is a horrible move for DC to make? No, because
I wouldn't scream that either. No.
I mean, I could see her pulling off the look of Barbara Gordon. The hair, she's got the style. The only thing that concerns me is the age.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can do things to make people appear younger, but usually when you're looking for and the big thing in this, and this is whether this will change or not, if you're looking for Barbara to be in high school in this movie, don't cast someone who's in their mid-30s.
Exactly.
Go with someone who's younger. However, I'll ask you, what if they did cast Lindsay Lohan? What would be your reaction to that?
I would say that you're going to have some obstacles with trying to make her look like she's in high school, because it's hard to make someone like you, and well, not you as much as me, look like they're in high school again. Mr. Shaved baby face over there.
Well, I'm even late 20s and I can pull it off. Yeah. So it depends on the person.
Him, yes. Me, it's a little bit harder. I mean, I haven't shaved my beard.
But is Lindsay Lohan one of those kind of people?
It's movie magic, and they can make people that are in their 30s look like they're in high school. But I feel like it's a lot easier and a lot less to do. You have the bigger name, but you have the slightly bigger name, but come on, I mean, just have someone that's around that age. Do it, because I mean, like, just like in Spider-Man Homecoming, we had people in that age range in high school. So it's not like someone who's 30 being a high school kid.
And I'm looking right now, and this is from the beginning of 2017, so take it with a grain of salt, but Screen Rant also came out with an article of 15 actresses who could play Batgirl. Because think about it, beginning of the year was when we got Batgirl, they want to do a Batgirl movie. Yeah. And I'm going through some of these names, and some of them are like Ellie Fanning. You've got, I'm trying to even see if I recognize any of these names. Anna Kendrick is on the list. I don't know how I'd feel about Anna Kendrick as Batgirl. I'm not quite sure. You've got Natalie Emmanuel. She played in Game of Thrones. She was Daenerys's
daughter.
Not daughter, but the girl that was the translator for her when she was in Marine.
Okay. Daenerys. Sorry, you said Daenerys.
You've got Haley Steinfeld, who we've talked about, is on that list. You've got...
I don't know about Anna Kendrick either.
I wouldn't cast Anna Kendrick in that role.
Well, she's older than...
Emma Stone is number 2, and then number 1 is Jane Levi. From the Evil Dead remake.
Okay.
I don't know if any of these actresses would be, and I'll put this link down below so you guys can see the full list, because I'll be completely honest, there are some of these where I'm like, off the top of my head, what were you in? Like, there's Zoe Kravitz, who played Angel in X-Men First Class. So it's like, I could maybe see her as it, but it also depends on what direction they want to go with Batgirl. True. Not just the sense of a thing of, okay, she's in high school, let's kind of get somebody who can do that as well, but the fact of, do they want to go traditional, we are going to go what is in the comics with Batgirl, and we are going to go with that look. So like, I'm looking at it to where you've got the kind of just past shoulder length red hair. You've got the kind of high school look. Do we want to go with that? Or do we want to be bold and be like, yes, this is our version of Batgirl? Whether that be casting someone who bends the race a little bit with Batgirl, who goes with a different area in that way, or are they going to say, you know what? We're going directly what's on the comic book, and that's the kind of Batgirl we want to portray in the movie.
Yeah, you know what? I was just looking up some of the actresses that and most of, they're around our age. Yeah. But I think
the oldest I saw was 31, which is in the ballpark of Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah. But I mean, a lot of them are at least a little bit, at least like just in their mid-20s right now. Yeah. Some of them are a little bit older than us. I would, again, I would say no one older than us, honestly. because you want someone who you can have pull off high school. And yeah, there's some of these that they do have a face that still looks like they could almost be in high school, but there are some of them like, yeah, can you or can you not? And I'm not saying like I don't care if like they do what they did with MJ in Spider-Man: Homecoming. I don't care if like,
where that was non-traditional. That's a perfect example of what I was trying to get at. Where that's not what Mary Jane is in the comics.
Exactly.
Like, at all.
And I don't care if they do that. It's more of, to me, if you're going to do someone in high school, do someone around high school age.
They did a similar thing in Spider-Man Homecoming with Flash Thompson.
Yeah.
Having his character be not the big white blonde jock that we're used to in the comics.
He was just a kind of a bully.
Yeah.
It was more of a verbal abusive bully. But my thing is more so just like have them look like have someone that can look that age. And no offense to Lindsay
Lohan.
Thank you.
You almost said Lizzie McGuire. I heard it.
Oh no, I just couldn't get Lindsay out.
It sounded like you were going to say Lizzie McGuire.
No,
which
I just
was
couldn't
like completely. They were rivals at one time, but completely different actors.
No, because that's Hilary Duff.
Yes.
No, I couldn't get Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
I don't think. No offense to her, you can make her look like she's in high school.
Yeah.
You want someone that can like literally pull it off and say, shit, I thought they were of high school age.
The one thing that I'm also thinking about, and I had to look up what else Haley Steinfeld has been in.
Yeah. Because
another thing you're looking at, and this goes into if you're going to go with someone who I'm going to say is like 25.
Yeah.
And because like there were some, I think it was, what am I thinking of? Regina George from Mean Girls. I believe that actress, when she was in Mean Girls, was 25, if my math serves me correct. But the point I'm trying to make is if you're going to go with someone we're going to go with someone who's early 20s. You also got to play the weight of, do we want to go with someone who's inexperienced, where it's like, this is your first breakout role and we're basically debuting you as an actress? Or do you want to say, hey, we're going to go with someone? Because, like, I'm looking at Haley Steinfeld. She's in Pitch Perfect 1, in Pitch Perfect 2. She's going to be in the Bumblebee movie that you and I are going to see at the end of the year. She was in Edge of 17. She was in 10,000 Saints, Barely Legal. She was in Romeo and Juliet. She was in True Grit too, early on in her career. She has these different things where it's like, okay, I have solidified myself to where if they said, hey, we're going to cast Haley Steinfeld, I don't think anyone would say this is her debut role, especially with how big the Pitch Perfect movies were just on their own. However, there's also the side of like Lindsay Lohan. Look at how much she has been in over her career, to where is that going to play into it? Hey, we're going to go with a Lindsay Lohan over a Haley Steinfeld because we know, like, yes, if it's also a question of, like you said, have you kind of dealt with all the demons that you were dealing with and got your ducks in a row?
Yeah.
If that's the case, I mean, if you're weighing that and you want someone who's experienced, that would tip the scale into a Lindsay Lohan over someone who's in the early 20s or even someone like Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah, that's true. I still, if I were DC, that's usually you throw it on to me in that sense, but I'm just going to throw it on myself this time.
Go ahead.
I would go with the one that's younger, has maybe a little less to her name, but the one that I can pull off someone being in high school. I want to be able to trick the people watching the movie and make them think this person is in high school still.
Yes.
I want to make them think we hired 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds to play in this movie.
Yeah, I'd be the same way. And the thing that I was just thinking of in the top of my head is just looking at the Justice League heroes alone, using them as my kind of base for everything. You look at the Superman heroes, or the Justice League heroes. So I'm going to look at Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg. First, I'm going to start with Superman because his was the kickoff of the DCEU.
That's true.
You look at a guy like Henry Cavill, who was born in 83, so around this time he's about 13 years older than us.
Yeah.
So His first movie, let's see, before Man of Steel, he was in Immortals. He was in Battle Creek. I'm looking at movies. Nothing too big. Basically, being Superman made Henry Cavill what he is today because he's been able to be
7 years older than
7 years older. I don't know. My math is wrong. That's why I have you here. 7
like,
years.
wait.
No.
13's a bit much.
That's right.
Because we're born in 90.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
You gotta go backwards.
I messed that up.
You don't need the 3 there.
And you know what?
you don't carry the 3.
The reason why I knew I messed up too was I said 13 years old. And then in my head, I'm like, that would make him about 43. That don't sound right, but I'm going to move on. Like in my head, I'm like, just don't say the age and move on. But okay, 7 years older, which makes him.
I want to get this together.
Makes him. So right now, that makes him about. So I'm going to be 30. I'm going to be 28. Wow.
Yeah, 28,
38.
not 30.
I'm going to be 28. So. With 7 years, give or take, maybe like 30.
He'd be 35.
But then think 7 years.
He's 35.
But then take 7 years away from that, or 4 years away from that. So 31 was when they casted him for Man of Steel.
Exactly.
But however, not newer, but a breakout role for him. Gal Gadot, I would put in another one of those where, yes, she was in some things. She was in Fast and the Furious and Furious 7, but I would say
Breakout
Wonder Woman kind of just, she was in Entourage too. That was very early on in her career, but Wonder Woman is what really just pushed her over the edge, and she's 85, so she's 2 years younger than Henry Cavill. Then you have Ezra Miller, who played the Flash. He's a guy who's 2 years younger than us to play the Flash, and he's a guy that so he was a little bit of, I'm going to play the little like fringe card there, because he was known for like, I think it was Perks of Being a Wallflower, and he was in other things leading up to this. His career was picking up, and then he jumped on as the Flash. The two big ones, I mean, before I get into those, Ray Fisher, where he's probably the most like, let's pick up someone who's not known at all. Because, I mean, I look at it before BVS, he was in The Astronaut Wives Club and The Good, the Bad, and the Confused, a TV series and a short. Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice was technically his debut. And then Justice League was his first full debut. Like in Batman v Superman, the only thing we saw was the clip. Whereas Justice League was his first ever.
His breakout.
Yeah, and I'm like the newest. However, the two big name actors that I would say they got, and the only two I would say they got, which were like bigger than all the rest, Ben Affleck coming in. He's a guy. Ben Affleck would be like your Lindsay Lohan, where it's like, I know who Ben Affleck is.
Exactly.
I know him from a lot of different movies, mainly with Matt Damon. And the other one being Jason Momoa. But it was only Jason Momoa is only on that list because of Game of Thrones.
Exactly.
But like, there's kind of a mix in there. So am I saying Lindsay Lohan? No, not going to be Batgirl. Get her out of the way. I wouldn't be surprised if DC did that. However, I think I would lean a little bit away. If you're giving me the choice, here's the thing we'll do.
Yeah.
Because we have two actresses that have said, and I actually found out Haley Steinfeld said it in an MTV News interview promoting Pitch Perfect 3, where she was asked, would she be open to taking a superhero role, where she said, yes, absolutely, definitely on my bucket list. And then she played coy, but she did confirm she would love to play Batgirl when asked about the role in particular. To end this, I'm going to ask you, I'll answer it first. If I'm picking between Lindsay Lohan and Haley Steinfeld, I'm picking Haley Steinfeld. How about you?
I'm backing you on that one. I would go Haley Steinfeld. Like I said, I know I've preached it a few times in this one now. I'd go someone who can act, like not act the age, but
literally look the part.
Look and act the age more.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Lindsay Lohan, but she's
kind of 20 years removed from being a teenager.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Yeah, approximately.
Because I go 35 maybe when this movie comes out.
Yeah, I would go with the one that is more looks and is closer to the age of a teenager because it's easier for her to pull it off then.
And the young...
Because she just got out of the age.
Yeah.
So...
No, she did. And literally, I mean, Gal Gadot might be the one, but I mean, even Henry Cavill, it was, yes, he was 31 when Man of Steel came out, but that's when Man of Steel came out.
Yeah.
Like, Lindsay Lohan's 31 now. However, the thing that's a flip side there is Superman's not a character where it's like, shit, we need him to be young.
No, exactly. We needed him in that 30-ish range.
And I mean, let's be completely honest. There's things where I'm hearing Man of Steel 2 might be the Kingdom Come storyline for superhero,
really?
which sees gray hair Superman. So I'm like, cool. Like, we don't need you to be
young,
the youngest actor in there. We just need you to be able to stay the role for a while. But with Batgirl, you got to think a little younger. I want to turn it on to you guys, though. We have talked enough about this. You guys let us know what you guys think down below. First off, what do you think if Lindsay Lohan became Batgirl? What would your thoughts be on that? And then number 2. Between Haley Steinfeld and Haley Steinfeld and Lindsay Lohan, who would you pick to be Batgirl? And if you're like, nah, I don't want either of those, let us know some of the actresses you would want down below in the comment section. But Johnny, let's move on into our final topic. And this is where we are finally moving into your world, your realm, the world of Marvel. We're moving out of DC. We're going into Marvel. And what we're looking at today is basically the Daredevil TV series. We've had Daredevil season 1 and 2, Jessica Jones season 1, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, The Defenders already. And this year we're supposed to get Jessica Jones season 2, supposed to get Heroes for Hire season 1, and then Daredevil season 3. And even though dates aren't released, they're probably going to release in that order. Jessica Jones, Heroes for Hire, and then Daredevil. The thing I want to look at is basically the villain for this, because they're, first off, spoilers. If you haven't been caught up through the Defenders at least, then I probably wouldn't watch this and come back to it, because there will be a spoiler for the Defenders. However, we're looking at the villain, and basically right now, the question I'm going to ask is, will Kingpin be the only villain? Because from what we know, Daredevil season 2, yes, there was a little bit of Kingpin, but there was also the Hand was the big villain of season 2. They're dead.
Yes, they are.
They're all dead.
Basically, the Hand is out.
The Defenders defeated them. So I want to ask you, you're now the showrunner for Daredevil. Congratulations.
What? Oh, shit.
What would you do for season 3? Because apparently the rumors are that they're going to go more of a born-again storyline, the Murdoch paper storyline, where it could be heavily Kingpin-focused. But would you make Kingpin the only villain for Daredevil season 3?
The only villain, no. I would make him one of the main focuses, though. What I would do is kind of have him rising, like we talked about before the podcast.
Rising to power?
Rising back. I would say back to power.
Okay.
Because he's got to take all that shit back now. He's lost almost everything.
Yeah.
And in doing so, he's grabbing, like, at least even if it's at straws at first, of I'm going to destroy Matt Murdock for putting me back here. And here's the other thing now. You brought up the Murdoch files, right? A loose basis on that, because what it is. Why don't you tell them real quick what it is? It's synopsis.
So the Murdoch Papers is basically, while Kingpin was in prison, he had thought to have, like, oh, I know who Daredevil is, and he called them the Murdoch Papers. So it's basically the storyline of Kingpin learning that Matt Murdock is Daredevil, and then threatening and working a deal with the FBI to, I'll let you know who's the devil of Hell's Kitchen. I'll let you know that. You let me out. And he's able to work a deal with the FBI where he gets out with more power than he originally had, plus more money.
Because what it would be is that it would Matt Murdock's not just testimony, but what is it?
His testimony.
His testimony as a lawyer.
Because what they're thinking is, in the season, could they make it to where Matt Murdock is not present at the trial for some reason, because of maybe something that happened while he was being Daredevil?
Yep.
And because he wasn't present at the trial, Kingpin was able to get off, and that gets him out. Because he did threaten Matt Murdock to where he's going to come after him and Foggy because they put him behind bars.
Well, here's the thing now is Foggy doesn't work with Matt anymore.
Nelson and Murdoch anymore.
And unless Foggy decides to take up the case, Murdoch's missing. He's presumed dead at the moment.
Yeah.
As the season ends, and we already warned you about spoilers, so I'm not worried about that anymore. Yeah. So he's right now he's presumed dead. So unless he makes his comeback really early in the season, basically the case is almost null and void at this point, unless, again, like we said, someone comes and takes it up, and a good lawyer, or else we're just going to have an attorney come and just say, hey, they could get like a botched attorney, or even hell, he's got a little bit of money left over. He can just get like someone he wants in there to fudge the case.
And that's one of the things, I mean, we watched Emergency Awesome talk about this before the podcast. And what he mentioned, and this is one thing I wanted to bring up, was now that the hand is dead, basically it creates the problem, not the problem, but a situation for opportunity to where if Kingpin wanted to, there are thugs, there's money, there's an opportunity to, you work for me now.
Yes.
Now, the thing that I'm also looking at is it creates the opportunity for another influence to be brought up into kind of this whole world. And I don't know if you make it to where Kingpin's that only opportunity. He's able to get out because Matt Murdock is dead. Let's be honest, if there's a Daredevil season 3, Matt Murdock's coming back. But you look at it as, will Kingpin be the one to take over those thugs? That's where he gets some of his muscle. That's how he rises to power. And where we get, because right now we don't have the true version of Kingpin.
No, not yet. Not at least not the one we know.
I really think by the end of season 3, we get that true comic book. Like white suit, Kane, King, like he is the mastermind of Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
What I wouldn't be surprised, and this is, I am going to throw a little bit of a curveball at you.
Okay.
You ready for this one?
Okay.
What if we saw the villain, and I don't know if you're familiar with this, you're more of the Marvel guy than I am. Do you know who's Death's Head? Do you remember who that is? Do you want to know his alter ego?
Go ahead.
Dr. Paxton Page. What if we get because here's another thing. And I saw this in an article that apparently they're toying with the idea of a Karen Page spinoff.
Oh, okay.
Which I thought completely horrible idea. Don't give me, like, Karen Page to me is not a person that you give an entire season to. She is somebody that is on, like, in The Punisher. She's in Daredevil. And what kind of a twist would it be okay, most of the season Matt Murdock is away and presumed dead. Kingpin's coming to power. We need another storyline. What if they throw in this where it's basically you have Death's Head come back, her father, and you're dealing with that, where she's dealing with her past. Maybe, like, I'm going to be completely honest, maybe make her an interesting character to me again.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm not that interested in the character of Karen Page. She kind of seems like someone that's there just to be an outside voice to some of the other characters and move the story along for the Punisher. But what do you think about that? Maybe bringing in someone like that who then Daredevil has to clean up that before he can go after Kingpin when he's officially back.
That, or we discussed it, Bullseye?
I think Bullseye's the main. If you're going strict Daredevil villain, he's got to be the one.
Well, there's that, and there's one we kind of introduced in, I think it was Jessica Jones.
Purple Man?
No, he's dead, remember?
That's right. That's right.
Nuke.
Okay.
With the little blue pill?
Yes.
We introduced him.
Completely forgot about him.
Exactly. Apparently he's a villain, and at the end of that season, I believe he decides to join up again with his unit, which, I mean...
Because you're talking... Jessica Jones season 1. That's the only Jessica Jones we have.
Yeah, so far. And I think that would be another interesting one to throw in there. It's just because I looked up villains for Daredevil, and Nuke is one of them. That would be an interesting fight right there.
It would be.
Just because it's someone that Jessica Jones knows, someone that her sister, in a sense, her best friend, was having a relationship with.
Yeah.
I think that would be an interesting fight and an interesting crossover type thing if they want to go about that. Because they do cross them over a lot.
Yeah.
Even without making them crossover seasons.
And the thing that I wonder is, maybe I even asked this question, maybe I should have asked this at the beginning, is if Kingpin is the only villain, can they make a season, a 13-episode season, that's entertaining with him as the only villain?
I think it'd be hard to do that.
Do we need to add another villain?
I feel like, it doesn't need to be huge roles all the time. It just needs to be like the big lying story of the big focus of one villain is Kingpin story, and we are still going to have the Daredevil story as well of Matt Murdock coming back to everything, whatever happened between him and Elektra. Obviously, we need to have that in there. Then you have Kingpin's like they were doing the other. I think it was season 2, Kingpin's side story as well as Daredevil's side story, and they were like flipping around in between them. What we're gonna have to do is like maybe have some Daredevil coming back and dealing with Bullseye at one point, or dealing with, and I don't know why it sounds weird every time I say that name. Maybe an episode, like I said, him dealing with Nuke just losing it in the streets and having to fight him, and because he doesn't know who Daredevil is like the rest of the Defenders do.
Yeah.
Nuke's just a guy going on a rampage because he took a blue pill, and to Nuke, Daredevil's just another vigilante doing whatever the hell he wants. He doesn't want shit like that anymore because of what happened with him and the Purple Man.
Yeah, and that's the thing it comes down to. I think there needs to be
a little bit of breakup in there.
Well, not a little bit of breakup. There needs to be the guy where while we're dealing with the Kingpin, like getting out of and rising back up, there needs to be that guy that gives us the not brute force, but like Daredevil's going mano-a-mano with this person.
Yeah.
And fighting the streets.
Kind of like Punisher in season 2.
Or I wanted to ask, do we get now, because the Hand is virtually dead.
Yes.
And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't know. Do you think there's any chance they bring Elektra back in some way?
I think she's going to be back.
You think so? Because the other character I was looking at is if they didn't want to go Elektra, which I don't know why they wouldn't. Elektra's a famous character for Daredevil.
Yeah.
Is Typhoid Mary.
Yeah.
And for 2 reasons why I think that she can basically be kind of mapped into this is, number 1, I'll give you why, and then I'll give you why not afterwards, because there's a big reason why I think she could not be in this. But the reason why is, number 1, former lover of Daredevil. It would give another kind of like, wow, Daredevil doesn't have just one, because we've already played on the Elektra, Matt Murdock love strings, basically.
Yeah.
And this would give a different version. It would give a different character in there, because it's not just because Elektra is I'm trained by the Hand. We have similar skills. I have a similar set of skills, to quote Liam Neeson to be exactly. Whereas Typhoid Mary would give a similar, we're former lovers, but also she has powers like telekinesis, to where it would give a different kind of fight for Daredevil. Also, she's mentally ill, so you can play with that in there as well. But also, she is a pawn of Kingpin. Kingpin loves to use her for his own gain, and she really, it's the love-hate between her and Daredevil. She's one that I could see being thrown in there. However, like I said, with the whole thing with her having powers and basically she's a mutant.
Yeah.
Can Marvel do her right now, or would they have to wait until the Fox Disney deal isn't set? Because I don't know, because she's a mutant, I don't know if she falls on the side of X-Men, or if it's like, hey, you know what, she's a Daredevil villain, they would be able to use her, but they couldn't say mutant.
Maybe that's why they're waiting to put in Daredevil last in that sequence too, because maybe that by that time it should all be like set to come through.
That's the thing, though. Like, let's say Daredevil, like we're thinking, is going to come out late fall.
Yeah,
you got to film, like, and they're already, I think, filming to where I don't think you would be able to add her. Now, do I think they add her? No, I think they completely scrap it. We're not even gonna do that, but I think she would be an interesting character, maybe for the future.
Yeah.
Like, because you get that love-hate. Maybe she's one where after Kingpin is in power and it's a season 4 type thing, she's a character you introduce.
Yeah, I mean, this would be a great season to put her in, but and this is I'll set it up in a minute. It would be also work maybe season 4 of Daredevil, if we even get to go that far. Hopefully we do. Now would be a great time to do it because he doesn't know, like, we don't know what happened to Elektra at all.
Yeah.
He wakes up and he's in, what'd you say it was, a monastery?
Yeah.
He wakes up in a monastery, injured in a bed. We don't know what happened to Elektra, and my guess is he doesn't know either.
Yeah.
So he could, for all he knows, she could be dead. So eventually, when he makes his way back to New York, when he makes his way back to his life in Hell's Kitchen, grieves with her being dead, yada yada yada. New love interest, like just trying to get his life back together. This is her. She's got a second side to her. She's Typhoid Mary.
Maybe. So basically, Typhoid Mary is Elektra, is what you're saying.
In a sense.
Or was it Typhoid Mary tricking him? Is that what you're saying?
No, this is new love interest now because Elektra's dead and gone in his mind so far. This is his new.
I get what you're
moving
saying.
on.
I get what you're saying.
And
he dates a girl this season. She becomes Typhoid Mary in the future,
or even now. Like it's a double life. She doesn't just like he doesn't let anyone know he's Daredevil.
True.
She doesn't let him know that she's Typhoid Mary.
True. And so
that's just one interesting way to throw her in there.
Let me throw out another one.
Okay.
And this one could be another stab at the dark, but I want to throw it out there anyways, is Silvermane. And so Silvermane, nicknamed Silvermane for his near white hair, is a professional criminal originally from Italy, Sicily, that started his criminal career as a racketeer in the Magia, I hope I said that right, probably didn't, organized crime group, eventually becoming a criminal organizer and mastermind. Basically, so in the comics, it's the Magia, whatever you want to say it, Maggia. I can't pronounce it correctly. They took over Hydra, tried to take over organized crime in New York. That's the basic, there's what it is.
Yeah.
What if they bring him into it to where it's basically, while Kingpin's trying to rise to power, because the hand's no longer there, someone needs to step in. Kingpin comes up. Wait a second. There's somebody else? There's another crime family trying to take that power. Kingpin's not the only one that's probably trying to take that power.
Yeah.
So that could be, you know what, let's add them into it, and then we can play off into a Silvermane later into it. Because I know, and the thing with all of these villains is, especially with Daredevil, because Daredevil and Spider-Man are both in New York, there's a lot of Spider-Man, Daredevil villains that cross over. Like Kingpin is also a Spider-Man villain.
Yes, he is.
So there's a lot of that going on as well. But that's one that I thought of, not necessarily yes to him immediately, but kind of refer to that with, hey, Kingpin's not probably the only one trying to gain power now that the hand
That'd be
is no
an interesting
longer
one
there.
for like the Kingpin side of the story. That way it's not just Kingpin rising to power.
Yeah, it's not just Kingpin, it's Kingpin and someone else.
Yeah, someone like, okay, I'm going to have to basically like do my Kingpin stuff on this guy.
Yeah.
If that doesn't work, I can just beat the shit out of him.
Gotta do my Kingpin stuff on this guy, man.
Well, if not, he could just beat the shit out of him like he almost did Daredevil the one time.
Well, that's the thing I liked about season 1 of Daredevil, how brutal Kingpin was. Like I remember put the guy in the car door and just right there, or there was one where it's like, I'm going to take your hand and put it right on the fence.
Yeah.
I still remember that one. That one kind of shook me a little bit. That's a good thing. Is they've made him
Fisk
ruthless.
Is brutal.
They made him ruthless.
Yeah, no, he was freaking brutal.
Any final villains you think that they could add season 3?
Not that I can think of offhand, but it would be kind of cool. Remember from, and this is probably pulling stuff that they're not going to pull from.
Okay.
Spider-Man, the animated series we used to watch as kids.
Yeah, the 90s.
Remember Smythe, his assistant?
I don't.
Pulling some storyline from him?
Maybe.
And from him and his son, I believe, are the two that he ties in with. This would be more so when he actually kind of rises to power at that point.
Because he would have the assistant, and he would be true Kingpin. We haven't gotten.
But that'd be cool to eventually start throwing in there some of that storyline with him and Smythe and all that stuff.
You know what? Now that you're saying it, I'd have to look. I'm going to look it up on YouTube after this.
Yes.
Because I'm trying to think. I recently, too, did watch an episode of that Spider-Man. I think it was the Venom one. Okay. Because it was the one with the bell and it rings and then it comes off of Eddie Brock and goes away. That's the episode that I watched recently. But final thoughts? I think that was I think I already asked you final thoughts.
Yeah, no,
final thoughts.
That's about it. I just wanted to throw that one out there. And this is, like I said, that would be more of a season 4, though. But
let us know what you guys think down below. What do you think they're going to do with season 3? Will Kingpin be the only villain? Will we be surprised with someone? Let us know what you guys think for Daredevil season 3 down below in the comment section. But that is going to do it for the Rick and Johnny podcast. A little bit of housekeeping here at the end. Number 1, if you loved what we do here on the podcast, make sure to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. We have different tiers for you to help support us. Make sure that we can do the things that we love to do for you guys. At the $10 tier, you want to join a Rick and Johnny podcast, you can join the $10 tier, be on a podcast each and every month. You are at that tier. Also, we're selling MVP t-shirts, getting a couple of them out the door. $22 including shipping. All that information is available in the description. And then last but not least, mostvaluablepodcast.com. Check it out if you have not. And if you're on iTunes, you have an iTunes account, please go and give the Rick and Johnny podcast a 5-star rating. And if you listen to the Onside Kick the Primetime podcast and the Fast Break, go ahead and give us a 5-star rating there as well. I want to thank you guys for either watching and or listening. Johnny and I will be back next week. But as always, have a good day, everybody.